The deep hum of the Horizon's engines provided a constant backdrop as Captain Ethan Miller stared at the vast emptiness of space through the bridge's main viewport. 6 months into their diplomatic mission to the edge of known space, and they had yet to encounter anything truly remarkable. Until now, a small blinking dot appeared on the radar screen, catching the attention of Navigation Officer Paul Davis. "Captain, we're picking up an unidentified object drifting at coordinates 227 by 84, Paul said, his fingers flying across the control panel. "It's small, possibly an escape pod, and it's sending out a distress signal on an unusual frequency." Ethan straightened his uniform and moved closer to the screen. "Life signs?" "One, sir." "Faint but stable." Ethan considered his options. Their mission was to seek out new civilizations and establish peaceful contact, but caution was always necessary. "Bring us within tractor beam range, but maintain defensive protocols. Alert medical to prepare for a possible survivor." The Horizon adjusted course smoothly, approaching the drifting pod. As they drew closer, the object became visible through the viewport, a sleek, silvery vessel unlike any human design, with strange geometric patterns etched across its surface. "Definitely not one of ours," muttered First Officer Jack Collins, who had joined Ethan at the viewport. "Not like any design we've encountered before either," Ethan nodded. "Let's bring it in, carefully." Within 30 minutes, the alien pod was secured in the Horizon's main hangar. Ethan stood with Security Chief Sam Rodriguez and Dr. Lisa Wright behind a protective barrier as technicians worked to open the vessel. The pod's surface was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse with a faint internal light. "Atmosphere reads as oxygen-nitrogen, similar to ours but with higher oxygen content," reported Dr. Wright, studying her scanner. "The occupant appears humanoid, but definitely not human." With a soft hiss, the pod's entrance panel slid open. Mist spilled out, and within it a figure stirred. The security team raised their weapons as a slender form emerged from the pod. The alien was remarkably humanoid, tall and graceful with skin the color of pale blue moonlight. Her features were sharp yet beautiful, with large, almond-shaped eyes that shimmered like opals. What appeared to be fine, silver filaments flowed from her head instead of hair, moving slightly as though alive. She wore a torn garment that once might have been magnificent, with circuits or technology somehow woven into the fabric itself. "I seek asylum," she said in perfect English, her voice melodic yet firm with authority. "My name is Lyra, Queen of the Zetherian people." Her legs wobbled, and she steadied herself against the pod. Dr. Wright rushed forward, despite the security team's protests. "She's injured." The doctor helped the alien visitor sit on a nearby crate while scanning her with a medical device. "Nothing life-threatening, but she's exhausted and dehydrated, assuming her physiology works anything like ours." Ethan approached cautiously. "I'm Captain Ethan Miller of the Earth vessel Horizon. How are you speaking our language?" Lyra's opalescent eyes fixed on him. "Your communications have been reaching our monitoring stations for decades. We've studied your languages. Some of us, particularly those in diplomatic positions, are required to learn them." She winced as Dr. Wright treated a wound on her arm. "What happened to you?" Ethan asked. "My kingdom has been overthrown. My cousin, Prince Vex, staged a coup while I was away on a diplomatic mission. He killed many of my loyal council members and declared himself ruler." Her voice remained steady, but Ethan noticed her hands trembling slightly. "I escaped only because my security chief sacrificed himself to get me to this emergency vessel." Jack Collins stepped forward, skepticism clear on his face. "And you just happened to find a human ship?" "No," Lyra replied. "I was trying to reach a Zetherian outpost. My navigation systems were damaged in the escape. Finding your ship was fortunate coincidence." Ethan studied her carefully. "Why should we believe you?" "For all we know, you could be a criminal fleeing justice." Lyra's expression hardened. "Doctor, right, is it?" "Your scanning device, it can analyze genetic material, yes?" When Lisa nodded, Lyra extended her arm. "Test my blood." "The Zetherian royal family has distinct genetic markers engineered into our bloodline centuries ago." "It marks." U.S. as rulers and connects us to our planetary defense systems. Dr. Wright looked to Ethan, who nodded his permission. She took a small sample of the blue-tinted blood from Lyra's arm and inserted it into her analyzer. After a moment, she looked up in surprise. Her genetic structure is unlike anything I've ever seen, Captain. Highly advanced with what appear to be synthetic components perfectly integrated with organic material. And there are distinct markers that separate her from what would likely be a standard for her species, almost like a genetic signature. The royal markers, Lyra confirmed. Only those of the true royal line carry them? Ethan frowned, still not entirely convinced. Even if you are who you say you are, why should we help you? Our mission doesn't include getting involved in alien civil wars. Lyra stood, somehow managing to look regal despite her torn clothes and injuries, because Prince Vex is dangerous. He has been secretly developing weapons technology forbidden by our laws, technology that could threaten not just my people, but eventually yours as well. He needs resources, and your worlds have them in abundance. She took a step closer to Ethan, her eyes never leaving his. And because I can offer you something in return, my people are centuries ahead of yours technologically. We have medical techniques that could end disease on your world, energy solutions that would solve your resource problems, defense systems that would protect you from threats you haven't even discovered yet. Why would you share such valuable technology? Jack asked suspiciously. Because I need allies to reclaim my throne. Because good rulers understand the value of meaningful alliances. She turned back to Ethan. Restore my throne, Captain Miller. And I'm all yours, along with an alliance that would advance human technology by centuries. A communication alert sounded from the bridge. Captain, called the communications officer over the intercom. Earth Command is requesting an update on the unidentified vessel. Tell them I'll report shortly, Ethan replied, still watching Lyra. We'll need to verify your claims and consult with our superiors before making any decisions, Lyra nodded. I understand. But time is precious. Each day Vex consolidates his power, making him more difficult to remove. She swayed slightly, fatigue finally overtaking her. Dr. Wright, please escort our guest to the medical bay and see to her needs, Ethan ordered. Assign security as appropriate. As Lisa led Lyra away, Jack stepped closer to Ethan. You're not seriously considering helping her, are you? This could be an elaborate trap. I don't know yet, Ethan admitted. But if she's telling the truth, this could be the most important first contact in human history. And if she's lying... He watched as the alien queen disappeared through the doorway. Then we need to find out what her real agenda is. 2 hours later, after a lengthy communication with Earth Command, Ethan found himself outside the medical bay. Through the observation window, he could see Lyra sitting calmly on an examination table as Dr. Wright conducted various scans. Despite her situation, the alien queen maintained a dignity that impressed him. Ethan's orders from Earth Command had been clear. Investigate the alien queen's claims, determine the threat level of this Prince Vex, and secure any technological advantages possible for humanity. If helping Lyra served Earth's interests, he was authorized to provide limited assistance. With a deep breath, he entered the medical bay, ready to inform the deposed queen that, for now at least, she had found her allies. The horizon emerged from hyperspace near a small, unremarkable moon orbiting a gas giant. According to Queen Lyra, this was the location of a hidden Zetherian outpost where loyalists awaited her return. Ethan stood on the bridge, watching the barren moon grow larger on the view screen. No signs of any settlement or technology, Paul reported from his navigation console. If there's an outpost down there, it's well hidden. Lyra, now dressed in a simple uniform provided by the crew, pointed to a region of jagged mountains. There, the entrance is concealed within that northern ridge. They will have detected our arrival. Ethan nodded to communications specialist Olivia Chun. Broadcast on the frequency Queen Lyra provided. Let them know we come in peace with their queen aboard. Olivia sent the message, but there was no immediate response. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances as minutes passed in silence. Perhaps they fear it's a trap, Lyra suggested. Allow me to speak directly. Ethan nodded. and Olivia transferred communications control to the console near Lyra. The alien queen spoke in her native language, a series of musical tones and clicks that sounded almost like singing. Immediately, a response came through, and relief washed over Lyra's face. They are sending landing coordinates. Commander Carr survived the coup. He was my head of security before the attack. The Horizon descended through the thin atmosphere of the moon, following the provided coordinates to a narrow canyon. As they approached, a section of the rocky surface shimmered and disappeared, revealing a hangar large enough to accommodate their ship. Holographic camouflage, Dr. Wright said with admiration. Completely undetectable by our scanners. Ethan turned to Jack and Sam. Prepare a security team to accompany us. Standard diplomatic protocols, but stay alert. He looked at Lyra. I hope your friends are as welcoming as you promise. Lyra's expression was solemn. They have been in hiding, fearing for their lives. Trust will not come easily to them, even with me. When the ship landed and the boarding ramp extended, a small group of Zetherians waited inside the hangar. Like Lyra, they had pale blue skin and silver filament-like hair, though their clothing was utilitarian rather than regal. One stepped forward, a broad-shouldered male with a scar running down the right side of his face. My queen, he said, bowing deeply. We feared you were lost. Commander Carr. Lyra descended the ramp with dignity. I very nearly was. These humans rescued me and have offered their assistance. Carr studied Ethan and his team with suspicious eyes. Humans have never been to this sector before. How do we know they aren't working with Prince Vex? Because Vex would never allow humans to know of our existence if he could help it, Lyra replied. You know his views on other species? Captain Miller saved my life when he could have ignored my distress signal. Ethan stepped forward and extended, his hand in the human gesture of greeting. Captain Ethan Miller of the Earthship Horizon. We're here to help if we can. After a moment's hesitation, Carr clasped Ethan's forearm in the Zetherian style. Commander Carr, head of what remains of the Queen's Royal Guard, please follow me. They were led through a series of tunnels carved into the moon's rock, eventually emerging into a larger cavern that served as the outpost's command center. About 30 Zetherians worked at various stations, all pausing to bow as Lyra entered. This is all that's left? Lyra asked quietly. Carr nodded grimly. Most of the loyalists who escaped the capital are scattered across the outer colonies. Some have gone into hiding among the general population. We have been attempting to establish contact with them, but Vex's forces monitor all communications. How bad is it? Lyra asked. A female Zetherian approached with a data tablet. My queen, I am scientist Tila. The situation is worse than we feared. Vex has implemented a new security protocol throughout the major cities. Anyone suspected of loyalty to you is arrested and publicly executed as a warning to others. Lyra's face remained composed, but Ethan noticed her hands trembling slightly. And the ancient defense systems? He cannot access them, Carr confirmed. The genetic keys remain locked to your bloodline alone. That is why he wants you alive. His scientists are trying to find a way to bypass the security measures, but so far they have failed. That buys us time, Lyra said, turning to Ethan. The ancient defense systems are the most powerful weapons on our planet. They were created by my ancestors to protect our world from invasion. They respond only to the royal genetic signature. Mine, is that what this coup is about? Jack asked. Control of these weapons? Partly, Lyra admitted. But Vex has always craved power. He believes our civilization should expand and conquer rather than explore and learn. He sees my diplomatic approach as weakness. Ethan surveyed the command center. Despite advanced technology, the Resistance's resources seemed limited. What's your plan for retaking the throne? Carr and Tila exchanged glances. We have been gathering intelligence and resources, but we lack the numbers for a direct assault, Carr explained. With your ship and crew, perhaps we could— One ship against a planetary defense force? Jack interrupted. That's suicide. Not necessarily, Lyra said thoughtfully. Vex's power is based on fear and propaganda. Many citizens obey him because they believe I am dead and see no alternative. If we could communicate with the population, show them I am alive and returning with allies. Dr. Wright, who had been examining the Zetherian technology with fascination, looked up. What about their communication systems? Could we broadcast a message planet-wide? Tila shook her head. All public channels are monitored and controlled by Vex's forces. But, Lyra said slowly, there is the emergency broadcast network, hardwired into the oldest parts of our cities. It was designed to bypass all other systems in case of catastrophic events. Vex would have disabled it, Carr argued. He may not even know it exists, Lyra countered. It hasn't been used in generations. The access points are in the underground maintenance tunnels beneath the capital. So we'd need to infiltrate the capital city, find these access points, and broadcast a message to rally your people? Ethan summarized. That's still extremely risky. All resistance is risky, Captain, Lyra replied. But my people will fight. If they know I live. Over the next few days, humans and Zetherians worked together to develop a plan. Dr. Wright and scientist Tila created a communication system that used Zetherian technology with human encryption methods, allowing the resistance to contact loyalists without detection. More Zetherians began arriving at the outpost as word spread cautiously through secure channels. Ethan was impressed by Lyra's leadership. Despite her royal status, she worked alongside everyone else, learning about human technology, teaching Zetherians about Earth tactics, and personally welcoming each new arrival to the Resistance. One evening, Ethan found her alone in the command center, studying maps of the capital city. You should rest, he suggested. You've been working non-stop since we arrived? Lyra looked up with a tired smile. As have you, Captain. Ethan, please. If we're going to risk our lives together, we can drop the formalities. She nodded. Ethan. Then, she gestured to the empty seat beside her, and he sat down. Thank you for what you and your crew are doing. I know this isn't your fight. Earth Command sees potential in an alliance with your people, Ethan said honestly. But that's not the only reason I'm helping. Oh, I believe in what you're fighting for. Your cousin sounds like the type of ruler who wouldn't stop at conquering his own world. Lyra's expression darkened. You're right. Vex has always talked about Zetherian expansion as our destiny. He believes we are superior to all other species. She looked directly at Ethan. I do not share this view. I have always believed that different civilizations have different strengths. Together, we are stronger than apart. Something in her tone made Ethan wonder if she meant more than just their current alliance. Before he could respond, alarms blared. Throughout the base, proximity alert. Carr's voice came over the intercom. Vex's patrol ships have entered the system. Ethan jumped to his feet. Have they detected us? Unknown, but we must assume so. All personnel, prepare for emergency evacuation. Lyra stood, suddenly every inch a queen despite her simple clothing. It appears our timetable has moved up, Captain. Are you ready to truly begin this fight? Ethan nodded, already mentally preparing for what was to come. Lead the way, Your Majesty. The abandoned mining facility hidden within the asteroid belt provided perfect cover for the resistance forces. After their narrow escape from the moon outpost, Ethan had suggested this location, remembering an old Earth survey report about the abandoned site. The facility's thick walls naturally blocked most scanning technology, and the surrounding asteroids provided additional cover from passing ships. Queen. Lyra stood beside Ethan in the makeshift command center they had established in what once was the mining operations main office. Around them, humans and Zetherians worked together, preparing for their most dangerous mission yet. The intelligence from our new recruits confirms it, Commander Carr said, pointing to a holographic display of a massive building. The Central Military Command Facility contains all the security protocols and defense codes for the capital city. If we can access their systems, we can temporarily disable the city's shields for our main assault. Ethan studied the rotating image of the facility. Security? Heavy, Carr admitted. But our insider says there's a maintenance entrance here. He pointed to a small doorway near the power generators. That's used mainly by service droids. Security is lighter, and with the right access codes we could enter undetected. And we have these codes? Ethan asked. Lyra nodded. Minister Zeth's assistant defected to our side last week. She brought the maintenance codes with her. They change them monthly, so we need to move quickly. Over the past 3 weeks, their resistance had grown. Word had spread carefully among trusted Zetherians, and more defectors arrived daily. The human crew of the Horizon had integrated well with their alien allies, sharing technology and tactical knowledge. We can't risk the whole team, Ethan said after careful consideration. A small infiltration group has the best chance of getting in and out undetected. I agree, Lyra said. I will go. Absolutely not, Carr interrupted. My queen, you are too valuable to risk. I must go, Lyra insisted. The highest security systems will respond only to my genetic signature. Without me, you cannot access the central database. Carr looked ready to argue further, but Ethan stepped in. She's right, Commander. But she won't go alone. He turned to Lyra. I'll accompany you, along with Olivia for communications and Sam for security. Jack frowned. Captain, as your first officer, I should advise against this. You're putting yourself at unnecessary risk. This isn't open for debate, Ethan replied firmly. Dr. Wright will take command of the Horizon in my absence. You'll coordinate with Commander Carr to prepare the main force for the assault on the capital once we've disabled the shields. The planning continued for hours, working out every detail of the infiltration. They would use a small Zetherian shuttle, modified with human stealth technology, to approach the facility. The operation needed to be perfect. They would have only one chance. 2 days later, Ethan found himself piloting the shuttle toward the Zetherian homeworld. From orbit, it was a beautiful planet, swirls of blue and green with scattered, silver-white cities that gleamed in the light of the binary suns. It's been 3 months since I last saw home, Lyra said softly, gazing at the view screen. It seems like years. Ethan glanced at her. In the time they had worked together, he had seen many sides of the alien queen, the diplomat, the strategist, the fighter. But this momentary vulnerability reminded him that she was also someone who had lost everything and was fighting to get it back. You'll be home permanently soon, he said. Once we complete this mission, the main assault won't be far behind. Lyra turned to him with a small smile. Home is more than a place, Captain. It is people, purpose. She paused. In some ways, I have felt more at home with you and your crew than I ever did in the royal palace. Before Ethan could respond, Sam called from the rear of the shuttle. We're approaching the entry vector. Stealth systems activated. They descended through the atmosphere under cover of darkness, the shuttle's enhanced systems rendering them nearly invisible to Zetherian scanners. They landed in a remote area several miles from the military facility and continued on foot through dense forest. The facility is just ahead, Olivia whispered, checking her scanner. I'm picking up regular patrol patterns. A gap opens every 12 minutes near the maintenance entrance. They waited in silence until the patrol passed, then moved swiftly to the entrance. Lyra placed her hand on the access panel and entered the code sequence. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft hiss, the door slid open, inside. They moved carefully through narrow maintenance tunnels, avoiding the occasional service droid. The air was warm and filled with the hum of machinery. Olivia monitored security channels while Sam led the way, weapon ready. The central server room should be 3 levels up, Lyra whispered. There's a maintenance lift ahead that can take us there. They reached the lift without incident and ascended to the upper level. The corridors here were wider, better lit, and more likely to be patrolled by living guards rather than droids. Wait, Sam whispered, raising his hand, voices ahead. They pressed themselves against the wall as 2 Zetherian officers walked past, deep in conversation. Once the officers turned the corner, the team continued toward the server room. The door to the server room was heavily secured, but once again Lyra's genetic signature granted them access. Inside, rows of humming equipment filled the large space. Olivia immediately set up her communication device while Lyra and Ethan approached the main console. I need a few minutes to access the defense grid, Lyra said, her fingers flying over the alien controls. Make it quick, Sam replied from his position by the door. We don't know when the next security sweep will come through. As Lyra worked, data flashed across the screens. Ethan watched in amazement as she navigated the complex systems with practiced ease. I found something, she said suddenly, her voice tense. Vex has been developing new technology, weaponry that should not exist. Ethan looked at the schematics on the screen. Though he couldn't read the Zetherian text, the designs were clear enough, massive energy weapons far beyond anything humans had developed. This is why he wants the ancient defense systems, Lyra explained. He's creating weapons that could destabilize space-time itself. The defense systems would protect Zetheria while he deploys these against other worlds. Download everything, Ethan ordered. Earth needs to know about this threat. As Olivia connected a data storage device to the console, the door to the server room suddenly slid open. A tall Zetherian male entered, freezing in shock at the sight of the intruders. Ethan recognized him from Lyra's descriptions. Minister Zeth, once her trusted advisor, now one of Vex's supporters. My queen, Zeth said, recovering quickly. I thought you were dead. Lyra stood tall, facing her former friend. As Vex wanted everyone to believe. Why, Zeth? You served the throne loyally for years. The monarchy has become ineffective, Zeth replied. Your diplomatic approach was weakening our position in the galaxy. Vex understands that strength is the only language other species respect. You're wrong, Lyra said. And these humans prove it. They came to my aid not because of fear or strength, but because of shared values. Zeth's hand moved toward an alarm panel on the wall. Sam raised his weapon, but Lyra gestured for him to wait. Think carefully, Zeth, she warned. Is Vex the ruler you truly want? Look at these weapon designs. He plans to wage war across the galaxy. Conflict played across Zeth's face. The council was concerned about his research, but he assured us it was purely defensive. You know that's not true? Lyra pressed. Help us stop him before it's too late. For a moment, it seemed Zeth might consider her words. Then his expression hardened. Guards. He shouted, lunging for the alarm. Sam fired his weapon, but Zeth had already triggered the alarm. Red lights flashed as the facility's security system activated. We need to move now, Ethan said, grabbing the data device from the console. Is the shield data transmitted to our forces? Olivia nodded. Sent and confirmed. They're launching the assault in 30 minutes. As they rushed from the server room, the sound of running footsteps echoed down the corridor. They turned toward an emergency exit but found their path blocked by Zetherian guards. Weapons fire erupted around them. Ethan pushed Lyra behind a support column for cover as Sam returned fire. This way, Olivia called, pointing to a maintenance shaft. They fought their way toward it, but as they reached the opening, a blast of energy struck the wall near Lyra's head. Ethan reacted instinctively, throwing himself in front of her. Searing pain tore through his shoulder as the energy bolt hit him instead of the queen. Ethan! Lyra cried, catching him as he stumbled. Through a haze of pain, Ethan heard Sam providing covering fire as Olivia helped drag him into the maintenance shaft. The last thing he remembered before losing consciousness was Lyra's face above his, her opalescent eyes filled with fear and something else he couldn't quite identify. Ethan woke to the gentle hum of medical equipment. His shoulder throbbed with a dull pain, but it was bearable. Opening his eyes, he found himself in the medical bay of the Horizon. Dr. Wright was checking his vital signs while Lyra sat nearby, her silver hair glowing softly in the dim light. Welcome back, Captain, Lisa said, noticing he was awake. You've been unconscious for nearly 18 hours. Ethan tried to sit up but winced as pain shot through his shoulder. The mission? Successful, Lyra answered, moving closer to his bedside. Thanks to you. Olivia and Sam got us back to the shuttle, and we escaped before Vex's forces could intercept us. The data was transmitted to our resistance base, and the shield codes are ready for the main assault. The energy weapon that hit you was unlike anything in our medical database, Lisa explained, but Queen Lyra knew how to treat it. She used Zetherian healing techniques to repair the damaged tissue. Ethan looked at Lyra with surprise. You saved me? As you saved me, she replied simply. The debt between us grows more complex, Captain. Lisa tactfully checked something on her tablet. I should update First Officer Collins about your condition. Excuse me, she left the medical bay, leaving Ethan and Lyra alone. The wound will heal completely, Lyra said, gently adjusting the bandage on his shoulder. Though you may feel some numbness for a few days. Thank you, Ethan said. He studied her face, noticing the fatigue in her eyes. You haven't slept, have you? My people need less rest than humans, she said, avoiding the question. And there has been much to prepare. The main assault on the capital is scheduled for tomorrow. Before Ethan could respond, the door opened and Jack entered. His expression was grim and he carried a data tablet. Captain, good to see you awake. Jack nodded to Ethan before turning to Lyra. Your Majesty, Commander Carr requires your input. On the final assault plan, of course, Lyra said, rising. I will return later, Captain. She left the medical bay with a final glance at Ethan. When the door closed behind her, Jack's posture changed. He moved closer to Ethan's bed and lowered his voice. Sir, there's something you need to see, he handed Ethan the tablet. On the screen was a series of documents and images, Zetherian military reports with rough human translations beside them. What am I looking at? Ethan asked, scrolling through the information. Intelligence I've been gathering since we joined the Queens. Resistance, Jack explained. I've had some concerns about her story, so I asked Dr. Wright to help me translate some of the Zetherian databases we've accessed. Ethan frowned as he read the translated text. This says Queen Lyra ordered military action against civilian populations during an uprising 3 years ago. Yes, sir. The reports describe a brutal suppression of protests in 3 major cities, hundreds of casualties. Jack's voice was tight with controlled anger. She presented herself as a benevolent ruler, but these documents suggest otherwise. Ethan studied the images of destruction, feeling a cold weight settling in his stomach. Have you confronted her with this? No, sir. I thought you should see it first. Ethan handed the tablet back to Jack. Continue gathering information, but keep this between us for now. I want to hear her explanation before we make any judgments. Jack hesitated. Sir, with respect, if she's been lying about her rule, what else might she be lying about? The alliance she promised? The technology she offered? I understand your concerns, Jack, but we need more context. There may be explanations we don't yet understand. Ethan winced as he shifted in the bed. Help me up. If we're attacking the capital tomorrow, I need to be on the bridge. Later that evening, after reviewing the assault plans with Commander Carr and the Horizon's senior officers, Ethan found Lyra alone in the ship's observation lounge. She stood before the large viewport, gazing at her homeworld in the distance. Beautiful, isn't it? She said without turning. From here you can't see the suffering Vex has caused. Ethan moved to stand beside her. Lyra, we need to talk. Something in his tone made her turn to look at him. What troubles you, Captain? I've seen reports about military action you ordered against civilian populations during an uprising. He watched her reaction carefully. Hundreds died. Lyra's expression changed not to guilt or shame, but to understanding. Ah, your first officer has been investigating me? Can you deny it happened? No. Her answer was immediate and direct. But there is context you are missing. She turned back to the viewport, gathering her thoughts. 3 years ago, my cousin. Vex attempted his first move against me. It was more subtle than his recent coup. He created bioengineered soldiers, designed to look like ordinary citizens, and planted them in 3 cities. They began what appeared to be a civilian protest movement, but their true purpose was to seize control of key infrastructure and destabilize my rule. Ethan frowned. Bioengineered soldiers disguised as civilians? Yes, when we discovered the truth, I ordered military action against these imposters. We tried to minimize true civilian casualties, but in the chaos ... she trailed off. It was a terrible time. Vex used it as propaganda, claiming I had attacked my own people. It took months to reveal the truth, and some never believed it. Why didn't you tell us this from the beginning? Lyra turned to face him fully. Would you have understood? Your species has not yet faced such complex threats. I feared you would react exactly as you are now, with suspicion and doubt. I needed your help, and I could not risk losing it due to misunderstandings about a conflict you had no context for. Ethan considered her words. They made sense, but doubt lingered. Is there anything else you've kept from us? Anything that might affect our alliance? Nothing that would change the threat Vex poses, she answered. He is everything I have described, power-hungry, dangerous, willing to use Forbidden's technology. Whatever you think of me, Captain, he must be stopped. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden blaring of alarms throughout the ship. Ethan hit the intercom. Bridge report. Paul's voice came through, tense with urgency. Captain, we're detecting multiple ships approaching our position. They've bypassed our perimeter. Sensors somehow. Battle stations, Ethan ordered. All hands prepare for possible engagement. He and Lyra rushed to the bridge, arriving to find the crew already at their stations. The main view screen showed several Zetherian vessels closing in on their asteroid. Hideout. How did they find us? Commander Carr demanded, already present on the bridge. Our location was secure. Someone must have betrayed us, Sam said grimly. Lyra stepped forward, her face pale. Captain, those are Royal Guard vessels. They're elite forces, loyal to the throne, to whoever sits on it. Can we outrun them? Ethan asked Paul. Negative, sir. They've positioned to cut off all escape routes. Jack looked up from his console. Sir, they're hailing us. On screen, Ethan ordered. The view screen changed to show the face of a Zetherian male with cold, calculating eyes. Though Ethan had never seen him before, he knew immediately who it was. Prince Vex. My dear cousin, Vex said, his voice smooth as silk. How thoughtful of you to gather all your little rebels in one place for me. Vex, Lyra replied, her voice steady despite the situation. Your coup will fail. The people know you for what you are, Vex smiled, a chilling expression. Do they? Perhaps you should ask your trusted Commander Carr about that? All eyes turned to Carr, who stood rigid, his face a mask of shame. Commander? Lyra asked quietly. Forgive me, my queen, Carr whispered. He has my family. My children, he promised to spare them if I revealed your location. Understanding and betrayal washed across Lyra's face. Oh, Carr. Dykes laughed. Loyalty is such a fragile thing, isn't it, cousin? Now I offer you one chance. Surrender yourself to me, and I might spare your human friends. Resist, and I will destroy every ship, every life, every trace of this pathetic resistance. Before Lyra could respond, Ethan stepped forward. We'll need time to consider your offer. Vex's eyes narrowed. You have 1 hour, human. Use it wisely. The transmission ended. Chaos erupted on the bridge as everyone spoke at once. Ethan raised his hand for silence. Carr, you're confined to quarters under guard, he ordered. The commander was led away without resistance. Ethan turned to his officers. Options? We fight, Sam suggested. The horizon has weapons they may not be expecting. Against that many ships? Jack shook his head. It would be suicide. What? About surrender? Olivia asked. Not actually surrendering, but pretending to get close enough to strike from within. As the discussion continued, Dr. Wright approached Ethan quietly. Captain, I've been analyzing the data we took from the military facility. There may be another option. She showed him something on her tablet that made his eyes widen. Everyone, Ethan called, bringing attention back to himself. Dr. Wright has found something. Vex's experimental technology has a critical weakness. It requires constant stabilization, and disrupting it could create a chain reaction through all systems connected to it. The entire defense grid, Lyra realized. If we could trigger such a disruption, we'd need to get close enough to initiate it, Lisa explained, and someone with access to the royal protocols. All eyes turned to Lyra. She straightened her shoulders, decision clear in her eyes. I will go. Not alone, Ethan said firmly. We do this together. As they began to form a desperate plan, Ethan caught Lyra's gaze across the bridge. The royal palace of Zetheria gleamed under the light of twin suns, its silver spires reaching toward the sky like frozen music. Inside the grand throne room, Prince Vex paced impatiently, his long ceremonial robe sweeping across the polished floor. Guards stood at attention along the walls, their expressions hidden behind ornate helmets. "The hour approaches," Vex said to Minister Zeth, who stood nearby. "Is everything prepared for the ceremony?" "Yes, my lord," Zeth replied. "Once Queen Lyra transfers control of the ancient defense systems to you, your rule will be absolute and uncontested." Vex smiled coldly. "And the human ship?" "Our forces have it surrounded. They cannot escape." Outside the capital city, hidden within a small transport vessel disguised as a supply ship, Ethan checked his equipment one final time. He wore the armor of a Zetherian royal guard, modified by Dr. Wright to accommodate his human physiology. Beside him, Sam and Olivia were similarly disguised. "Remember," Ethan said quietly, "our mission is to get Queen Lyra to the throne room. Once there, she can access the defense systems and trigger Dr. Wright's disruption program. The Horizon will coordinate the attack from orbit once the shields are down." "And if we encounter resistance?" Sam asked, checking his weapon. "Avoid casualties if possible," Ethan replied. "But our primary objective is to reach the throne room. We can't fail." Lyra entered the transport bay, also dressed for battle. Her silver hair was pulled back, and she wore sleek combat armor rather than royal garments. The sight of her stirred something in Ethan's chest that he quickly pushed aside. This was no time for personal feelings. "The shuttle from Vex's ship will dock in 5 minutes," she said. "We must be ready." According to their plan, Vex believed Lyra was surrendering herself to save her human allies. A small shuttle was coming to collect her and bring her to the palace for the ceremony, where she would transfer control of the defense systems to Vex. What he didn't know was that Ethan and his team would be accompanying her, disguised as her captors. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Ethan asked Lyra quietly. "Once we're in the palace, there's no turning back." Lyra met his gaze steadily. "My people have suffered under Vex long enough. It ends today, one way or another?" The shuttle docked with a soft thud. 4 Zetherian guards entered, weapons ready. "Where is the queen?" the lead guard demanded. Lyra stepped forward, her hands bound with restraints that Sam had modified to release at the press of a hidden button. "I am here, as promised." The guard looked suspiciously at Ethan and the others in their disguises. "Who are these?" "My personal guards," Lyra answered smoothly. "Prince Vex insisted I bring some of my captive humans as proof of my surrender." The guard hesitated, then nodded. "Very well, come with us." They boarded the shuttle, tension thick in the air. As they flew toward the palace, Ethan watched the city below. He could see signs of Vex's oppressive rule, military checkpoints, propaganda displays, citizens hurrying with downcast eyes. The shuttle landed in the palace's private hangar. More guards waited to escort them inside. Ethan exchanged a quick glance with Sam and Olivia, a silent confirmation that they were ready. They were led through grand corridors of gleaming metal and crystal. Ethan noted the positions of guards and security systems, mentally mapping their escape route. Finally, they reached the antechamber to the throne room. "The prince will see the queen alone first," the lead guard announced. "My guards come with me?" Lyra insisted. Those were the terms. After a brief communication with someone inside, the guard reluctantly agreed. "Very well. But they must surrender their weapons." Sam and Olivia handed over their visible weapons, keeping hidden backup devices Dr. Wright had designed. Ethan did the same, feeling naked without them but trusting in their plan. The massive doors to the throne room swung open. Prince Vex sat upon the throne that rightfully belonged to Lyra, a smug smile on his face. Minister Zeth stood to his right, and a dozen elite guards lined the walls. "Cousin," Vex greeted Lyra with false warmth. "How good of you to join us, and you brought your pets." He glanced dismissively at Ethan and the others. "Let's dispense with the pleasantries," Lyra said coldly. "You wanted me to transfer control of the defense systems. Let's proceed." Vex's smile widened. "So eager." But first, a demonstration of your sincerity might be in order. He gestured to a guard who brought forward a small control device. Your human ship is still surrounded by my fleet. Activate the ancient defense systems and target their vessel. Prove your loyalty to Zetheria. Lyra's expression remained neutral, but Ethan could sense her tension. This wasn't part of the plan. The defense systems were never meant to be used against peaceful visitors, Lyra argued. It would violate our most sacred laws, Vex laughed. Laws that you wrote, cousin? Laws that no longer apply? He rose from the throne and approached her. Oh, perhaps you care more for these humans than for your own throne. The throne is rightfully mine, Lyra said, her voice rising, as are the defense systems. You have no authority to command them. Not yet, Vex agreed. But I will, once you transfer control to me. He studied her face closely. Unless, of course, this surrender is some kind of trap. It was the moment they had been waiting for. Ethan caught Lyra's eye and gave a subtle nod. In one swift motion, Lyra released her restraints and lunged toward the throne. Ethan, Sam, and Olivia sprang into action, pulling their hidden weapons and engaging the surprised guards. Traitors! Vex shouted, backing away. Guards, kill them all! Chaos erupted in the throne room. Ethan fought his way to Lyra's side, protecting her as she raced for the throne. Sam and Olivia held off the guards. Using their superior training to compensate for being outnumbered, Lyra reached the throne and placed her hands on the armrests. The entire seat began to glow with a soft blue light that spread to the floor around it. What are you doing? Vex demanded, panic in his voice. Taking back what's mine, Lyra replied. Her eyes glowed with the same blue light as the throne. The defense systems recognized their true ruler. Vex rushed toward her, drawing a weapon from his robes. Ethan intercepted him, knocking the weapon aside and engaging the prince in hand-to-hand combat. Though Vex was stronger than he looked, Ethan's military training gave him an edge. Now, Olivia, Ethan shouted as he fought. Olivia activated the communication device hidden in her armor. Horizon, commence attack! The shields will drop in 30 seconds. On the throne, Lyra had entered a trance-like state, her connection to the ancient systems, allowing her to take control. The blue light pulsed throughout the room, spreading along hidden circuits in the walls and floor. You're too late, Vex snarled at Ethan as they grappled. My experimental weapons are already online. Even if you kill me, they will destroy half the galaxy before burning themselves out. That's counting on them being stable, Ethan replied with a grim smile. Dr. Wright discovered your little design flaw. Understanding and horror dawned on Vex's face. He broke away from Ethan and rushed toward a control panel on the wall. Sam intercepted him with a flying tackle, bringing both of them crashing to the floor. The palace shuddered as explosions rocked the city. The Horizon and the resistance forces had begun their attack. The blue light flowing from the throne suddenly flared brilliant white, and Lyra cried out in pain. Lyra! Ethan rushed to her side. The systems are fighting me, she gasped. Vex changed them somehow. I need to channel more power to trigger the disruption. It will kill you, Ethan protested. Recognizing the strain on her body, Lyra's eyes met his, determination clear despite her pain. Then help me, Ethan. Your presence strengthens me. Without hesitation, Ethan placed his hands over hers on the throne's armrests. Energy surged through him, painful but bearable. Together, they channeled the power needed to trigger Dr. Wright's disruption program. Across the capital, Vex's experimental weapons began to fail as the disruption spread through connected systems. The shields protecting the palace fell, allowing the resistance forces to advance. In the throne room, Vex watched in horror as his plans crumbled. No! He screamed, breaking free from Sam and rushing toward Lyra and Ethan with murderous rage. Minister Zeth, who had been watching the battle unfold, made his choice in that moment. He stepped into Vex's path, blocking him from reaching the throne. Enough, my prince. It's over. Outside the palace, the people of Zetheria watched in awe as the ancient defense systems activated, not to attack, but to project an image of their queen alive and reclaiming her throne. The sight sparked hope and courage, and citizens joined. The resistance fighters in overthrowing Vex's supporters. When the energy surge finally subsided, Lyra slumped in her throne, exhausted but alive. Ethan stood beside her, supporting her weight as cheers echoed from outside the palace. "We did it," she whispered. Ethan looked around at the captured guards, the detained prince, and his own team standing victorious. "Yes, your majesty, you have your throne back." Lyra's hand found his, her touch gentle despite all they had endured. "And you, Captain Miller? Do you remember the promise I made when we first met?" Ethan smiled, remembering her words on the horizon. "All those months ago, restore my throne and I'm all yours." "I am a queen of my word," Lyra said softly. "The question now is what you wish to do with what is yours. As the twin sons of Zetheria set on a liberated world,